Every morning, billions of people wake up believing they understand the world around them. They see cities growing, companies expanding, technology evolving, governments making decisions, markets rising and falling. It all appears chaotic, as if history is written by millions of independent actions happening at the same time. But appearances can be deceptive, because every complex system is designed to hide its own architecture. A modern city is more than buildings. A corporation is more than employees. Money is more than paper. Artificial intelligence is more than software. Behind everything you can see, there is something you cannot. An invisible structure connecting people, capital, information, energy, technology, and incentives into a single operating system. Most people spend their lives interacting with the visible world. Very few ever ask who designed the invisible one. And those who understand that invisible architecture often become the ones shaping the future itself. Nothing truly scales by accident. Not a global company. Not a financial system, not an empire, not even the internet. Every system begins as an idea. Then it becomes a design. The design becomes infrastructure. Infrastructure becomes behavior. Behavior creates economics, and economics eventually reshapes civilization. This pattern has repeated throughout history. Empires built roads before they built wealth. Industrial nations built factories before they built prosperity. Digital giants built infrastructure before they built trillion-dollar valuations. The greatest advantage has never belonged to those who worked the hardest. It has belonged to those who designed the systems everyone else depends on. Products can be copied. Services can be replicated. Technology eventually becomes available to everyone. But architecture is far more difficult to replace. Because architecture determines how value flows, who captures it, who controls it, and who quietly accumulates wealth while everyone else focuses only on what they can see. This is why understanding architecture is no longer optional. It is becoming one of the most valuable skills of the 21st century. Imagine removing every building from every city on Earth. The skyscrapers disappear. The factories vanish. The offices no longer exist. What remains? Most people would answer, nothing. But the real answer is very different. What remains is the architecture, the electrical grids that power civilization, the fiber optic cables carrying information across oceans, the satellites synchronizing communication, the payment networks moving trillions of dollars every single day, the supply chains delivering products before customers even realize they need them, the algorithms deciding what billions of people will watch, buy, believe, and desire. These invisible systems never appear on postcards. They rarely make headlines, yet they quietly determine which businesses survive, which economies expand, and which nations become global powers. Civilizations are not sustained by concrete. They are sustained by invisible coordination. The stronger the architecture, the stronger the civilization. People often believe wealth is created by products. History tells a different story. Products generate revenue. Architecture generates wealth. A successful restaurant serves customers. A restaurant franchise builds a system. A software developer writes code. A platform creates an ecosystem where millions of developers create value on its behalf. A manufacturer builds a factory. A logistics network reshapes global trade. The greatest fortunes in history were rarely built by selling a single product. They were built by designing systems that allowed thousands or millions of transactions to happen continuously. Architecture creates leverage. Leverage multiplies productivity. Productivity creates capital. Capital finances even larger architectures. This cycle repeats until an organization no longer competes through effort, it competes through systems. That is why the world's most valuable companies no longer sell only products. They build operating systems for entire industries.
Human civilization is entering a transformation unlike any before. For thousands of years, wealth was built through land, then through industry, then through finance. Today, wealth is increasingly built through digital architecture. Data has become infrastructure. Algorithms have become managers. Artificial intelligence is becoming labor. Cloud computing has become industrial capacity. Semiconductors have become strategic resources, and automation is becoming the operating principle of modern civilization. The organizations preparing for this future are not asking, how can we work harder? They are asking, which systems can work without us? Because the next generation of wealth will not belong to those who own the most buildings. It will belong to those who own the architectures connecting billions of people, millions of machines, and unlimited flows of information into one intelligent system. The future is no longer being constructed brick by brick. It is being architected system by system.
Every generation believes it understands power. In the past, power belonged to those who controlled land, then to those who controlled industry, later to those who controlled capital. Today, power is quietly shifting once again. The most valuable assets are becoming invisible. Data, algorithms, compute, networks, infrastructure, artificial intelligence. The world's most influential companies rarely manufacture everything they sell. Instead, they design the architecture that allows everyone else to create value. Every search, every payment, every shipment, every recommendation, every digital interaction flows through infrastructures designed long before most people even notice they exist. The greatest empires of the 21st century are no longer measured only by territory. They are measured by the number of systems the world cannot live without. Most people try to increase effort. Architects increase leverage. Leverage is the invisible force that allows one decision to produce thousands of outcomes. A software platform serves millions of users, not because millions of people work inside the company, but because the architecture works for them. A payment network processes billions of transactions, not because humans approve every payment, but because systems do. Artificial intelligence is accelerating this transformation. For the first time in history, knowledge itself can be automated. Analysis can be automated. Decision support can be automated. Entire business processes can be automated. The future will not reward those who simply work harder. It will reward those who understand how to design systems that continue creating value long after the work itself has ended. That is the true meaning of leverage, and leverage has always been the hidden engine behind extraordinary wealth. The future will not be built by chance. It will be designed. Every autonomous company begins as a blueprint. Every intelligent city begins as a blueprint. Every digital economy begins as a blueprint. Every technological revolution begins as a blueprint. Long before people see innovation, someone has already designed the architecture that makes innovation possible.
This is why architects of systems consistently outperform participants inside those systems. They think differently. They connect disciplines. Technology becomes economics. Economics becomes infrastructure. Infrastructure becomes civilization. And civilization becomes the foundation for the next generation of innovation. Those who recognize these patterns do not simply react to change. They quietly position themselves where the next wave of value will be created.
At first, the world appears fragmented. Banks seem separate from technology. Technology seems separate from energy. Energy seems separate from geopolitics. Business appears independent from infrastructure. Artificial intelligence appears to be another technological breakthrough. But the deeper you look, the more every boundary begins to disappear. Money depends on trust. Trust depends on institutions. Institutions depend on infrastructure. Infrastructure depends on energy. Energy depends on resources. Resources depend on geopolitics. Geopolitics depends on technology. Technology depends on semiconductors. Semiconductors depend on global supply chains. Supply chains depend on digital coordination. And digital coordination increasingly depends on artificial intelligence. Nothing exists in isolation. Every system strengthens another. Every architecture supports another. Every decision creates consequences beyond what we can immediately see. This is why the most successful organizations no longer think in products. They think in ecosystems. They no longer optimize departments. They optimize systems. Because once you understand the architecture, you stop seeing separate industries. You begin seeing one connected civilization.
The future does not belong to those who simply consume technology. It belongs to those who understand the architecture behind it. It does not belong to those who chase every opportunity. It belongs to those who design systems where opportunities naturally emerge. History has never been shaped by the people who saw only the surface. It has always been shaped by those who understood what others could not see. The invisible connections, the hidden incentives, the silent infrastructures, the architectures that quietly direct the flow of information, capital, innovation, and power. This is the perspective that defines ASUTSEN, not to predict the future, but to understand how the future is engineered. Because every breakthrough begins as a blueprint. Every scalable business begins as a system. Every great fortune begins as leverage. Every civilization begins with architecture. The visible world is only the final layer. The real world is built long before anyone can see it. And those who learn to recognize that invisible architecture will no longer follow the future. They will help build it.
Every great transformation begins with a different way of seeing. The world is not built by chance. It is built by architecture. Architecture creates systems. Systems create leverage. Leverage creates wealth. And wealth shapes the future. This is not simply a channel about technology, or business, or economics. This is a journey into the invisible architectures that shape our world. Welcome to ASUTSEN, architecting wealth, automating future.